The massive crystal dome of Nexus Prime gleamed under 3 different suns. Inside, beings from across the galaxy gathered for the most important meeting in 500 years. Commander Kim Tae-ho adjusted his uniform and tried not to stare at the alien delegates around him. 3 years ago, humanity had made first contact. 3 years ago, Earth learned it was not alone. Now Kim stood in a hall filled with creatures beyond human imagination, feeling very small and very young. "Stay close," whispered Ambassador Lee Dong-woo, the senior human diplomat. "Remember, we're here to observe and learn." Dr. Park So-jin nodded, her eyes bright with curiosity. As Earth's leading archaeologist, she had dreamed of this moment her entire life. Alien civilizations with histories spanning tens of thousands of years. What wonders had they built? What mysteries had they solved? The Vathans approached first. These crystalline beings towered above the humans, their bodies shifting between blue and silver as they moved. Their leader, Overlord Kethmar, spoke, in a voice like breaking glass. "Welcome, young ones from Earth," he said. "How refreshing to see such eager faces. You remind us of ourselves when we first reached for the stars 50,000 years ago." Kim felt his jaw tighten. Young ones. The phrase stung, but he kept his expression neutral. Next came the Keth, a hive-minded species that looked like walking mantises covered in metallic armor. Their speaker clicked and buzzed before the translator made sense of their words. "The new species shows promise," the Keth said. "In time, perhaps they will achieve a fraction of what we have accomplished in our 80,000 years among the stars." Dr. Park smiled politely, but Kim saw her fingers tap against her tablet. She was taking notes, he realized. Always the scientist, always watching and learning. The most impressive delegation belonged to the Mordai. These beings existed as pure energy, their forms shifting like living lightning contained in translucent suits. When they spoke, the air itself seemed to vibrate. "We have watched civilizations rise and fall for 120,000 years, their representative said. "Your species is but an infant, taking its first steps into the greater galaxy. We hope you will learn wisdom from those who walked before you." Ambassador Lee bowed respectfully. "We are honored by your guidance," he said. "Humanity has much to learn from the elder races." Elder races. The term echoed through the great hall as other species nodded in agreement. The humans were the newcomers, the children, the ones who needed teaching and protection. The ceremony continued for hours. Each alien species presented artifacts from their ancient history. The Vathans showed crystal formations that had supposedly stored their first laws 50 millennia ago. The Keth displayed metal plates covered in symbols that told of their first spaceflights 80,000 years past. The Mordai projected energy patterns that they claimed recorded their civilization's birth over 100,000 years ago. Kim watched it all with growing discomfort. Something felt wrong, though he could not put his finger on what. During a break in the presentations, Dr. Park approached him quietly. "Did you notice anything odd about those artifacts?" she asked. "What do you mean?" "The dating methods they described, the materials they used, some of it doesn't add up." She glanced around to make sure no aliens were listening. "I've spent my career studying ancient human civilizations. I know how to spot inconsistencies." "What kind of inconsistencies?" "The crystal formations the Vathans showed. The growth patterns suggest they're much younger than claimed, maybe 15,000 years old, not 50,000. "And the Keth metal plates? The alloy composition requires techniques that shouldn't have existed 80,000 years ago." Kim frowned. "Are you sure?" "I'd need to examine them more closely, to be certain. But my instincts are telling me something is off." Before Kim could respond, Overlord Kethmar approached them. The crystalline being's body flashed with what might have been amusement. "Young humans," he said, "you seem troubled. Is our history difficult to comprehend? We understand. When one's civilization has existed for only a few thousand years, it can be overwhelming to encounter those who have ruled the stars since before your continents took their current shape." Dr. Park's smile was perfectly polite. "We're simply amazed by the scope of galactic history," she said. On Earth, we have archaeological sites that are quite old by our standards. Cave paintings from 30,000 years ago, stone structures from 12,000 years ago. Nothing compared to your achievements, of course. Something flickered in Kethmar's crystalline face. Was it surprise? Concern? The expression vanished so quickly that Kim wondered if he had imagined it. How quaint, the Vathan said. Such young artifacts, yet you speak of them with pride. In time, you will learn to think in proper galactic timescales. After Kethmar moved away, Kim turned to Dr. Park. Did you see that reaction? I saw it. He seemed surprised that we had anything 30,000 years old. Is that strange? Very. If his people have been spacefaring for 50,000 years, they should have encountered hundreds of species with archaeological records going back that far or further. Our timeline shouldn't surprise him at all. The ceremony resumed, but Kim found it harder to focus on the speeches about galactic unity and cooperation. Instead, he watched the alien delegates more carefully. He noticed how they avoided specific dates when discussing their early history. He saw how they changed subjects when other species asked detailed questions about ancient events. Most telling of all, he observed how the different alien species seemed to know very little about each other's distant past. The Vathans claimed 50,000 years of civilization, the Keth claimed 80,000, and the Mordai claimed 120,000. Yet none of them had records of the others' ancient activities. How could the Mordai have missed the rise of Vathan civilization? How could the Keth not have encountered the Mordai during their supposed 100,000-year existence? When the day finally ended, the human delegation returned to their modest quarters. Ambassador Lee poured himself a drink and sat heavily in a chair. Well, he said, that was humbling. Was it? Dr. Park asked quietly. Lee looked up at her. What do you mean? I think we need to investigate their historical claims more carefully. Park, Kim said. Are you suggesting these species are lying about their ages? I'm suggesting we should verify their claims before we accept them as fact. It's what any good scientist would do. Ambassador Lee set down his drink. That could be seen as insulting. These beings have welcomed us into galactic society. Questioning their history might damage our relationships. Or, Dr. Park said, it might reveal something very important about the real history of this galaxy. Kim looked out at the alien stars through their window. Somewhere among those distant lights lay Earth, home to a species everyone considered young and inexperienced. But what if everyone was wrong? What if humanity's true history was older and stranger than anyone imagined? He made a decision that would change everything. Dr. Park, he said, what would you need to properly investigate these historical claims? She smiled. Access to their artifacts, some basic dating equipment, and time to work without being observed. Then let's find out what these elder races are really hiding. Dr. Park Sojin worked quietly in the temporary lab the Galactic Council had provided for humanity. Officially, she was studying alien artifacts to better understand galactic history. Unofficially, she was conducting the most important investigation of her career. Captain Yoon Ji-hai entered the lab carrying a sealed container. As humanity's intelligence officer, she had been surprisingly helpful in obtaining samples for Park's research. I managed to get small fragments from 3 different Vathan crystal formations, Yoon said. They think I'm collecting them as gifts for Earth's museums. Excellent work. Park took the container carefully. What about the Keth metal plates? Harder to get samples from those without being obvious about it. But I did manage to scan them with the portable dating equipment Dr. Choi smuggled in. Dr. Choi Byung-ho looked up from his workstation, where he had been analyzing stellar radiation patterns. The scans show some interesting results, he said. The metallurgy is sophisticated but not impossibly ancient. I'd estimate those plates were created maybe 20,000 years ago, not 80,000. Park nodded as she began preparing the crystal samples for analysis. Over the past week, she had been using every dating technique known to human science. Carbon dating, radiometric analysis, geological stratification studies. The results were becoming impossible to ignore. The Vathan crystals are definitely not 50,000 years old, she announced. At most, they're 15,000 years. Old. Some are even younger than that. Captain Yoon sat down heavily. So they're lying about their age? Either lying or genuinely mistaken about their own history, Park replied. But there's more. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's archaeological timeline. Cave paintings, stone tools, burial sites, and ancient structures appeared in chronological order. Look at this, she said. Human archaeological evidence goes back consistently for over 200,000 years. Our cave art is older than any artifacts these alien species can produce. Our stone tools predate their oldest technology. Dr. Choi pulled up his astronomical data. I've been analyzing their creation myths and historical records, he said. The stellar formations they describe in their ancient stories, they didn't exist when they claim to have witnessed them. What do you mean? Yoon asked. Stars move, Captain. Galaxies rotate. If the Mordai really existed as a civilization 120,000 years ago, the stars they describe in their oldest legends should have been in different positions. But their descriptions match where those stars were only about 25,000 years ago. Park felt a chill run down her spine. So none of them are as old as they claim. It gets stranger, Choi continued. He brought up a new display showing galactic radiation patterns. I've been studying cosmic background radiation, stellar formation cycles, and galactic drift patterns. Based on the evidence, most of these civilizations achieved spaceflight within the last 30,000 years. They're all relatively young. But why would they lie? Yoon asked. Maybe they're not lying, Park said slowly. Maybe they genuinely believe their own histories. She walked to another workstation where she had been analyzing cultural patterns across the different alien species. I've been studying their myths, their languages, their social structures. There are similarities that shouldn't exist if these civilizations developed independently over vast time periods. What kind of similarities? Mathematical concepts, architectural principles, even artistic styles. It's as if they all learned from the same source. Dr. Choi suddenly straightened. Park, you need to see this. He had been analyzing long-range sensor data from human survey missions. On his screen was an image of a dead world in a distant system. This planet was scanned by one of our deep space probes last year, he said. The survey team noted unusual mineral formations and sent back the images showed ruins, ancient weathered structures that looked distinctly familiar. Park stared at the screen. Those look like human architecture, Choi finished. Stone working techniques that match archaeological sites on Earth. But this planet is 300 light-years from our solar system. Captain Yoon leaned forward. How is that possible? I don't know, Choi admitted. But I've found similar structures on 12 other worlds. All of them show signs of human habitation, but they're all far older than our recorded history. Park's hands shook as she pulled up more data. I've been analyzing genetic markers in soil samples from various worlds. Several planets show trace amounts of DNA that's compatible with Earth life forms. How old are these traces? Yoon asked. Tens of thousands of years, some over 100,000 years old. The three humans sat in silence, processing the implications. There's more, Park said quietly. I've been comparing alien historical records with human archaeological data. Every time these alien civilizations claim to have made a major technological breakthrough, I can find evidence of similar technology appearing on Earth thousands of years earlier. She showed them a timeline on her display. The Vathans claim to have invented crystal-based energy storage 15,000 years ago, but we have evidence of similar technology in human artifacts from 20,000 years ago. The Keth say they developed advanced metallurgy 30,000 years ago, Choi added. But human sites show comparable techniques from 50,000 years ago. Captain Yoon stood up and began pacing. Are you suggesting that humans taught these aliens their own technology? I'm suggesting something even more incredible, Park said. I think humans have been traveling between stars for hundreds of thousands of years. That's impossible, Yoon protested. We only achieved spaceflight 70 years ago. Did we? Park asked. Or did we achieve it again? She brought up images of ancient human artifacts from Earth. Stone carvings that seemed to show star maps. Cave paintings that depicted what could be spaceships. megalithic structures aligned with distant stellar formations. What if human civilization rose and fell multiple times? She asked. What if we had a vast interstellar empire, hundreds of thousands of years ago, but something destroyed it? Dr. Choi nodded slowly. It would explain the genetic traces on distant worlds. It would explain why these alien species all developed similar technologies at roughly the same time. They found the ruins of ancient human settlements and learned from them. But if that's true, Yoon said, what happened to the original human civilization? Why don't we remember it? Catastrophes erase history, Park said. Wars, natural disasters, societal collapse. Look at Earth's own archaeological record. There are gaps, lost periods where we can't account for human development. But surely some records would survive, Yoon protested. Would they? Park asked. If human civilization collapsed and regressed to a pre-technological state, how much would survive? Stone tools, cave paintings, basic structures. The complex technology would decay. The written records would be lost. Dr. Choi was examining more sensor data from the dead world with human ruins. Park, I'm reading massive radiation signatures from this planet. Whatever happened there, it was violent and recent in geological terms. How recent? Maybe 200,000 years ago. The entire surface shows signs of having been devastated by some kind of catastrophic event. Park felt the pieces clicking together in her mind. A global catastrophe that destroyed human civilization across multiple worlds. The survivors on Earth regressed to hunter-gatherer societies. The few humans on distant planets either died out or were absorbed into local populations. And the aliens? Yoon asked. Found the ruins later. Learned from human technology. Built their own civilizations on the foundation of what humans had created. The three humans looked at each other, realizing the magnitude of what they had discovered. We need more evidence, Park said finally. This is too important to get wrong. What kind of evidence? Choi asked. I want to examine those ruins on the dead world. I want genetic samples from alien populations to see if any carry human markers. And I want to dig deeper into Earth's archaeological record. Captain Yoon nodded. I can arrange for a survey mission to that dead world, but we'll need to be careful. If we're right about this, it changes everything. Yes, Park said quietly. It does. The aliens think they're the elder races of the galaxy, but what if they're wrong? What if humans are the true elders and we just forgot who we used to be? The survey ship Horizon dropped out of hyperspace near the dead world that Dr. Choi had discovered. Dr. Yang Min-soo, Earth's leading xenoarchaeologist, stared at the planet through the view screen and felt a chill run down her spine. Radiation. Levels are still elevated, reported Captain Yoon Ji-hai, who now commanded the secret mission, but not dangerous for short-term exposure. Historian Nam Yoon-ji checked her equipment one final time. As humanity's expert in comparative civilizations, she had been chosen to help interpret whatever they found on the planet's surface. Remember, Dr. Park So-jin said over the communicator from Nexus Prime. We need solid evidence. Photos, samples, detailed measurements. If we're right about this, we're about to rewrite galactic history. Yang nodded as she prepared for the descent. Understood. We'll be thorough. The shuttle landed near the largest cluster of ruins. As Yang stepped onto the alien soil, she immediately recognized the architecture. The stone cutting techniques, the architectural proportions, even the decorative elements, they were unmistakably human in origin. This is incredible, Nam whispered, running her hands over carved symbols on a fallen pillar. These markings, they're proto-human writing. I've seen similar symbols in Earth's most ancient archaeological sites. Yang began taking detailed measurements while Captain Yoon secured the area. The ruins stretched for kilometers in every direction. This hadn't been a small outpost or research station. This had been a major city, possibly the center of an entire planetary civilization. Look at this, Yang called, pointing to a section of wall that had been partially preserved. These stone blocks are fitted together using techniques we found in ancient human megalithic sites. No mortar, just precise. Cutting that creates perfect joins. How old? Nam asked. Yang consulted her dating equipment. The radiation damage makes it difficult to be precise, but I'm reading at least 200,000 years. Possibly older. As they explored deeper into the ruins, they found more evidence of human habitation. Tool fragments that matched implements found in African archaeological sites. Art that depicted Earth's constellations as seen from this distant world. Most shocking of all, they found genetic material preserved in the foundations of buildings. It's definitely human DNA, Yang reported. The sequences match Earth populations, but they're ancient variants. This isn't from modern humans. This is from our ancestors hundreds of thousands of years ago. Nam had been studying the artistic elements carved into the ruins. Yang, you need to see this. She led them to what appeared to be a central plaza, where a massive stone platform held the remains of elaborate carvings. Despite the radiation damage, enough remained to tell a story. These carvings show humans traveling between stars, Nam said, tracing the surviving lines with her finger. Ships that could cross vast distances. Cities on multiple worlds. This wasn't just one colony. It was part of a vast network. Yang felt her breath catch. An interstellar empire. But look at this section, Nam continued, pointing to darker carvings that showed scenes of destruction. Something went wrong. These images show worlds burning, ships fleeing, cities being abandoned. Captain Yoon had been monitoring communications from orbit. We're receiving a priority message from Dr. Park, she announced. She says it's urgent. The communication came through with significant static due to the radiation interference. Yang, Park's voice crackled. I've made another discovery. I've been working with some of the more honest alien scientists, and they've agreed to let me examine their genetic records. What did you find? Several alien species carry human genetic markers. Not recent contamination, ancient integration. It's as if humans bred with early versions of these species hundreds of thousands of years ago. Nam looked up from the carvings. That would explain the technological similarities. Humans didn't just trade with these species, they helped guide their evolution. There's more, Park continued. I've been analyzing the distribution of these genetic markers across different alien populations. The pattern suggests that humans were present throughout this entire sector of the galaxy. Yang walked to the edge of the plaza and looked out, over the ruins. In the distance, she could see the remains of what might have been a spaceport. Massive stone foundations that could have supported structures large enough for interstellar ships. Park, she said. We're standing in the ruins of a major human city. This wasn't an outpost or a mining colony. This was a center of civilization. How extensive are the ruins? Yang activated her long-range scanner. The city covers an area larger than present-day New York, and I'm detecting similar ruins on 2 other continents. An entire world, Nam said quietly. Humans colonized and developed an entire world, and we had completely forgotten about it. Captain Yoon was examining the tactical implications of their discovery. If humans had interstellar civilization, this long ago, why don't the current alien species remember us? Maybe they do, Yang said. Maybe that's exactly what their creation myths are about. She pulled up the cultural analysis she had been conducting during the flight. I've been comparing alien religious texts and creation stories. Almost every species has legends about the first ones or the teachers or the starwalkers who came from the void and showed them the secrets of technology. You think they're talking about ancient humans? The descriptions match. Bipedal creatures who came from distant stars who taught them architecture, metallurgy, agriculture, and space travel. The stories are consistent across dozens of species. Nam nodded excitedly. And the timelines match our archaeological evidence. These alien species began their recorded histories around the same time that human genetic markers appeared in their populations. Park's voice came through the communicator again. I found something else. In the deepest archives of the Galactic Council, there are references to the return of the first race. These documents are classified, but I managed to access them. What do they say? The alien leadership has known for decades that humans are the original spacefaring species. They've been hiding this information to maintain their political dominance. Yang felt anger rising in her chest. They've been treating us like children while knowing that we're their predecessors. It's worse than that, Park continued. According to these documents, some alien leaders believe that human return to space travel represents a threat to their control. They've been working to keep humanity weak and dependent. Captain Yoon's expression hardened. That changes things significantly. Yang was studying more of the carvings, trying to piece together what had happened to the original human civilization. Nam, look at this section. These images show some kind of catastrophic event. Not natural disaster, this looks like warfare. The carvings depicted massive explosions, ships fleeing through space, and worlds being abandoned. But most disturbing were the images that seemed to show humans fighting humans. Civil war, Nam said grimly. The human empire destroyed itself. That would explain the sudden collapse, Yang agreed, and why the survivors on Earth regressed so completely. If human civilization was devastated by internal conflict, the few survivors would have been starting over from nothing. As they continued exploring, they found evidence of hasty evacuation. Personal items left behind, unfinished construction projects, storage areas that had been quickly emptied. Whatever had destroyed this world, the inhabitants had seen it coming and tried to escape. This is the most important archaeological discovery in human history, Yang said finally. We're not the young race everyone thinks we are. We're the survivors of a galactic civilization that predates all current alien societies. Nam was documenting the final set of carvings. And if these images are accurate, we built something magnificent before we destroyed it. Captain Yoon activated her communicator. All teams begin final sample collection. We need to return to Nexus Prime immediately. Why the rush? Yang asked. Because if the alien leadership has been hiding our true history, they're not going to be happy when we reveal it to the galaxy. As they prepared to leave the dead world, Yang took one last look at the ancient ruins. Somewhere in these stones lay the story of humanity's greatest triumph and greatest failure. They had reached for the stars and claimed them, only to lose everything to their own destructive nature. We made it to the stars once before, she said quietly. We built an empire that spanned the galaxy, and we destroyed it all. The question is, Nam replied, will we make the same mistakes again? The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike anything Nexus Prime had ever witnessed. Ambassador Lee Dong-woo stood before the assembled delegates, knowing that the next hour would change everything. Honored representatives, Lee began, humanity requests permission to present new historical evidence that affects our understanding of galactic civilization. Overlord Kethmar of the Vathans shifted impatiently, his crystal form flashing with irritation. What could the newest species possibly teach us about history that we do not already know? With respect, Lee replied, we believe we can teach you quite a lot. The alien delegates murmured among themselves. The Keth clicked disapprovingly. The Mordai flickered with what might have been amusement. This was exactly the kind of naive human arrogance they had expected. Dr. Park So-jin stepped forward, carrying a sealed data case. We have spent considerable time analyzing artifacts and records from across the galaxy, she announced. Our findings suggest that commonly accepted historical timelines may be incorrect. A Vathan advisor leaned toward Kethmar and whispered, something urgent. The Overlord's crystal form darkened. Surely you do not mean to question the historical records of civilizations that have existed since before your world was formed, the Keth representative said. That's exactly what we mean to do, said a new voice from the back of the chamber. Every head turned as Elder Historian Kang Haewon entered the hall. The elderly human woman had been notably absent from all previous diplomatic missions, and her sudden appearance sent whispers through the alien delegations. Elder Historian Kang, Lee said carefully, we were not expecting you. I know, she replied, walking slowly to join the human delegation. I have been waiting for the right moment to reveal what my order has protected for thousands of years. Commander, Kim Tae-ho stepped forward, confusion clear on his face. What order? What are you talking about? Kang smiled sadly. The Order of Memory, Commander. We are the keepers of humanity's true history. the guardians of knowledge that was almost lost forever. The alien delegates were growing restless. Several had begun whispering urgently among themselves. "Enough of this," Kethmar declared. "We will not sit here and listen to human fantasies about ancient glory. You are a young species barely capable of interstellar travel." "Are we?" Kang asked quietly. She activated a holographic projector that filled the chamber with images of the dead world Yang's team had explored. The ruins, the artifacts, the ancient human architecture, all of it appeared in perfect detail before the eye. Stunned alien audience. "These ruins are over 200,000 years old," Kang announced. "They are unquestionably human in origin, and they are not alone." More images filled the air. Dozens of worlds, hundreds of archaeological sites, all showing clear evidence of ancient human civilization spread across the galaxy. The Mordai representative flickered wildly. "Impossible. This is some kind of deception." "The genetic evidence alone is overwhelming," Dr. Park said, displaying DNA analysis from multiple worlds. "Human genetic markers appear in the populations of dozens of species across this sector of the galaxy. Not recent contamination. Ancient integration dating back hundreds of thousands of years." Kang walked to the center of the chamber, her voice carrying clearly to every delegate. "My order has protected this knowledge for over 3,000 years," she said. "We are the descendants of the survivors who maintained the memory when all else was lost." "What memory?" Kim demanded. "The memory of the first expansion," Kang replied. 300,000 years ago, humanity achieved interstellar travel. We spread across thousands of worlds, establishing colonies, conducting research, making contact with primitive species. The chamber erupted in protests and denials, but Kang continued speaking. "We were explorers, teachers, guides. We helped dozens of species develop agriculture, metallurgy, architecture. We shared our knowledge freely, believing that wisdom belonged to all intelligent life." "Then what happened?" Dr. Park asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. "We grew proud," Kang said simply. "We began to see ourselves as the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Some humans wanted to guide other species gently. Others wanted to control them directly. The disagreement became a philosophical divide, then a political split, then open warfare. The holographic display shifted to show images from the ruins, the carvings depicting human civil war. "The war lasted for centuries," Kang continued. "Human fought human across 1,000 worlds. Entire civilizations were destroyed in the crossfire. Planets were rendered uninhabitable. The infrastructure of our galactic empire collapsed." "Commander." Kim stared at the images in horrified fascination. "We destroyed ourselves." "Completely and utterly," Kang confirmed. "When the war finally ended, there were no winners. Human civilization was gone. The survivors on Earth had regressed to primitive technology. The colonies were abandoned or destroyed. Our species had to start over from nothing." "But the other species?" Lee asked. "Found our ruins," Kang said. "Learned from our abandoned technology. Built their own civilizations on the foundation of human knowledge." She turned to face the alien delegates directly. "Every major technological breakthrough your species claimed to have made, every scientific principle you discovered, every architectural innovation you pioneered, all of it was originally human knowledge preserved in the ruins we left behind." Overlord Kethmar rose to his full height, his crystal form blazing with indignation. "This is preposterous. The Vathan Empire has ruled space for 50,000 years. "Has it?" Dr. Park asked. She activated her own data display, showing the FOM results of her investigation. "Our analysis of your artifacts shows they are no more than 15,000 years old. Your historical records contain inconsistencies that suggest they were compiled from fragmented sources much later than you claim." "The Keth hive mind has existed for 80,000 years, protested the insectoid representative. 20,000, at most," Park replied calmly. "Your metallurgical techniques match human innovations found in ruins that predate your civilization by tens of thousands of years. 120,000 years of Mordai civilization cannot be denied. The energy being flickered desperately. 25,000, Park said. The stellar formations in your creation myths match the galaxy as it existed 25,000 years ago, not 120,000. The chamber fell silent. The weight of the evidence was overwhelming. Furthermore, Kang said, the leadership of several species has known this truth for decades. She activated a new display showing classified documents from the Galactic Council's deepest archives. These records, hidden from public access, clearly identify humans as the original spacefaring species. Your leaders have maintained the fiction of ancient alien civilization to preserve their political power. A few alien delegates looked genuinely shocked, but others avoided eye contact. The guilty knowledge was written clearly on their faces. Why? Kim asked. Why hide the truth? A new voice answered from the gallery. Overlord Kethmar's advisor stepped forward, his crystal form dim with shame. Because we were afraid, he said quietly. Afraid that if humans knew their true history, they would seek to reclaim their position as the galaxy's dominant species. We thought, the Keth representative added reluctantly, that keeping you weak and dependent would prevent another galactic war. The Mordai flickered with distress. We have spent so long believing in our own antiquity that admitting the truth became impossible. Elder historian Kang looked around the chamber with sadness in her ancient eyes. And so you perpetuated a lie that benefited no one, she said. You denied humanity knowledge of its own heritage while basing your entire civilization on technologies we had already developed. Ambassador Lee stepped forward. The question now is, where do we go from here? The chamber erupted again as delegates demanded answers, explanations, and assurances. Some aliens were angry at being deceived by their own leaders. Others were terrified of human retaliation. A few seemed genuinely curious about learning the truth of galactic history. Through it all, Commander Kim stood quietly, processing the magnitude of what had been revealed. Humanity was not the newcomer to galactic civilization, they were the founders of it. The species everyone thought of as children were actually the elders, the teachers, the original explorers who had first reached for the stars. But with that knowledge came a terrible responsibility. If humans had once built a galactic empire and destroyed it through civil war, what would prevent the same tragedy from happening again? The future of the galaxy would depend on humanity's answer to that question. The aftermath of the revelation hit the galaxy like a shockwave. Within hours of the Galactic Council session, emergency meetings were being held on dozens of worlds. Some alien species reacted with shame and embarrassment, others with anger at being deceived by their own leaders, a few with genuine fascination about learning their true origins. Commander Kim Tae-ho found himself at the center of the storm. As news of humanity's ancient heritage spread, he received communication requests from across the galaxy. Some wanted to apologize, others wanted to negotiate. Many simply wanted to understand what it all meant. The Vathan Parliament has collapsed, Captain Yoon Ji-hee reported during an emergency briefing. 3 different factions are fighting for control. One wants to formally apologize to humanity. Another wants to deny the evidence entirely. The third is demanding that their leaders be tried for historical fraud. Dr. Park So-jin looked exhausted from days of non-stop interviews and evidence presentations. The Keth hive mind is experiencing something they've never dealt with before: internal disagreement. Apparently, learning that their entire history is based on human ruins has caused major philosophical conflicts within the collective consciousness. What about the Mordai? Kim asked. They're handling it better than most, Ambassador Lee Dong-woo replied. As energy beings, they seem more willing to accept that their understanding of time and history might be flawed. Several of their scholars are actually excited about the opportunity to study true galactic history. Elder historian Kang Hae-won entered the room, moving slowly, but with purpose. The ancient woman had become the center of media attention across human space, but she seemed unaffected by the chaos. The real test is yet to come, she said quietly. Revealing the truth was the easy part. Now we must decide what to do with it. What do you mean? Kim asked. Several alien factions are pushing for humanity to reclaim its position as the dominant galactic power, Kang explained. They believe that since we were the original rulers, we should be the rulers again. Kim felt a chill run down his spine. That's exactly what led to the Civil War the first time. Yes, Kang agreed. The question is whether humanity has learned from its ancient mistakes. A priority communication came through from the Galactic Council chambers. Overlord Kethmar appeared on the screen, his crystal form flickering with uncertainty. Commander Kim, the Vathan said, I request an immediate meeting. There are matters of galactic security that require urgent discussion. Within an hour, Kim found himself back in the Great Crystal Dome, but this time the atmosphere was completely different. Instead of the condescending welcome humanity had received before, the alien delegates looked nervous, uncertain, even afraid. Commander, Kethmar began, I must inform you that our intelligence networks have detected concerning activities. What kind of activities? Several radical factions among different species are planning to eliminate the human threat before it can grow. Kim felt his jaw clench. Meaning? Meaning they believe the only way to prevent humanity from reclaiming galactic dominance is to destroy Earth before you can rebuild your ancient empire. The chamber filled with worried murmurs from various alien delegates. Some clearly disapproved of such extreme measures, but others remained ominously silent. There's more, added the Keth representative, their mechanical voice unusually strained. Some of our own species are advocating for preemptive strikes against human colonies. Dr. Park leaned forward. They're afraid of us. Can you blame them? Asked the Mordai delegate, their energy form flickering with distress. Your species once controlled the entire galaxy. What's to stop you from doing it again? Kim stood up, feeling the weight of galactic history on his shoulders. Every alien in the chamber was watching him, waiting to see how humanity would respond to this ultimate test. You want to know what's different this time? He said, his voice carrying clearly through the hall. We remember what happened the last time. He walked to the center of the chamber just as Elder Historian Kang had done. 300,000 years ago, humanity made a terrible mistake. We convinced ourselves that because we had achieved space travel first, because we had guided other species to civilization, we had the right to rule them. The alien delegates listened in tense silence. We divided ourselves into those who wanted gentle guidance and those who wanted absolute control. That division destroyed everything we had built. Entire worlds died because we couldn't agree on how to use our power. Kim looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of species. We don't want to rule you. We don't want to rebuild some ancient empire. We want to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone again. Pretty words, said a voice from the back of the chamber. But how do we know you mean them? Kim turned to see a group of alien military commanders entering the hall. Their body language was aggressive, threatening. Because, said Dr. Park, standing up to join Kim, we're offering to share everything. What? All of our archaeological discoveries, all of our historical research, all of our technological analysis. We're making it available to every species in the galaxy. No secrets, no hidden knowledge, no advantages held back. Elder Historian Kang activated her data display once more. The Order of Memory has maintained extensive records of ancient human technology. We are prepared to share all of it, including the technologies that led to your civil war, asked one of the military commanders. Especially those, Kim replied. If everyone understands how we destroyed ourselves, maybe we can all avoid making the same mistakes. Ambassador Lee stepped forward. Humanity proposes the creation of a new galactic organization, not a government or empire, but a research institute. A place where all species can study the true history of galactic civilization and learn from both its achievements and its failures. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some aliens seemed intrigued by the proposal, others remained skeptical. And who would lead this institute? Kethmar asked. No one species would lead it, Kim replied. It would be governed by representatives from all civilizations, making decisions through consensus rather than domination. You would give up your claim to galactic leadership? The Keth representative asked, sounding almost disappointed. Never wanted galactic leadership, Kim said firmly. We just wanted to explore the stars and learn about the universe. That desire is what drove us to space the first time, and it's what drives us now. Dr. Park activated a holographic display showing the proposed research institute. Imagine what we could accomplish working together. The combined knowledge of dozens of species, the resources of hundreds of worlds, all focused on understanding the universe rather than controlling it. And if some species refuse to participate? Asked a military commander. If they still see humanity as a threat? Kim was quiet for a long moment, considering his words carefully. Then they have the right to make that choice, he said finally. But they should understand that isolation and fear lead to the same destructive cycles that destroyed our ancient civilization. We can break those cycles by choosing cooperation over control. Historian Nam Yunji, who had been quietly observing from the human delegation, suddenly stepped forward. There's something else you should all know, she said. Our investigation has revealed that this cycle has happened before. What do you mean? Kethmar asked. Evidence suggests that humanity has risen and fallen multiple times across cosmic history. Each time we achieved greatness, and then destroyed ourselves through internal conflict. Each time, new species rose from our ruins. The chamber fell, silent as the implications sank in. Which means, Kim said slowly, this isn't just about humanity learning from our mistakes. It's about breaking a pattern that has repeated for millions of years. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to grow together, Dr. Park said, echoing words she had spoken in planning sessions. But only if we choose growth over dominance, cooperation over control. Elder historian Kang looked around the chamber with ancient wise eyes. My order has spent thousands of years protecting the memory of what humanity lost, she said. But perhaps it's time to focus on what we all might gain. The vote to establish the Galactic Research Institute passed by a narrow margin. Not all species agreed to participate initially, but enough did to create a foundation for something new. As the session ended and delegates began filing out, Kim found himself standing alone in the great crystal dome, looking up at the alien. Stars through the transparent ceiling. Dr. Park joined him quietly. Do you think it will work? I don't know, Kim admitted. But for the first time in 300,000 years, humanity has a chance to do something different. And if we fail again? Kim smiled grimly. Then hopefully the next species that rises from our ruins will be wiser than we are. Above them the stars wheeled in their ancient patterns, unchanged by the dramas of the civilizations below. But somewhere among those distant lights, the future of the galaxy was taking shape, not through the dominance of any single species, but through the slow, difficult work of learning to share wisdom instead of imposing it. Humanity had been the elders all along. Now they would learn what it truly meant to be wise.